To answer Borky's question, I hope this doesn't come across wrong, but I play with a heap of Super Unicum players, and I finally kind of had my moment. So according to WoW's numbers in regard to win rate and damage, he managed to reach number 60 on the SEA server playing Indom. My question is, can you speak to the difficulty of converting big games into wins? So here's the interesting thing with PR. PR is not a way that the game actually records wins. PR is basically something that an outside party came up with as a way to have a competitive measurement for random battles, because there was not a ranked mode that gives like people concepts of where they land in terms of like, you know, how do you rate compared to this other player? How do you rate compared to blah? This game doesn't have that, not on a personal level. So PR, you know, exists. I think it also exists for tanks or something, I don't know. But it resolves mostly around damage. Second place is kills, and then third, the last part of PR is whether you win or not. Now, if you go around dealing tons of damage, 150, 200, 250, 300,000 damage, whatever, you just deal tons of damage, you might be such a force that people just can't deal with you, they can't keep up with you, and that gets converted to a win because you just apply so much pressure. But you have to understand that the actions that you take, the best actions for damage are fighting battleships. Battleships are the worst thing to attack in terms of influence, because a battleship takes the most damage before it dies. And all battleships, I believe all battleships, have healing. So not only do they take the damage that they start with, but they have even more health yet to come, and they have armor which helps reduce the damage that they take. So if the primary thing you do is farm damage off of battleships, you're technically doing one of the lowest influence play options. Farming damage off of cruisers is going to result in less damage, but it's more influential because any damage matters more on a lower health ship. And then obviously dealing damage to a destroyer is also even more important, because one, they're hard as hell to damage in the first place, and two, they have less health to begin with, so any damage is going to be impactful for them. So if you try to translate that, most damage battleship, but least influence, how do you win when the best thing to do in terms of damage is the least influential option? Usually you farm damage or you farm wins. You don't farm both. That being said, there are people that play a striker style of CV where they strike so fast, so hard, so constant, so whatever, that they do so much effing damage that they could just cause flanks to fall and break, and then that flank wins, and then they move to the next one, and it falls, and they breaks, and yada yada. So in that case, you can translate it over, but it's extremely hard to do because literally carriers are not designed to deal the damage that is required to do that. Because you could walk around in a battleship, dev strike, 30 seconds later, dev strike, 30 seconds later, dev strike, and you've removed 3 opponents off the field. In a carrier, you hit somebody for 10,000, and then you hit somebody for 10,000, and then you hit somebody for 8. 38,000 damage, 3 dev strikes. Like the potential to just alter the map in an instant is completely different. And if you have multiple ships sailing together, your ability to influence and deal damage to them is drastically reduced. So your ability to carry depends on the enemy team allowing you to carry, meaning giving you the shots to take. Please, yeah, kick my ass. Take as much damage as you want without killing many planes so you can keep doing it. And, I mean, if you're asking how do I guarantee that I win when the enemy has to let me win, the answer is you don't. So I think you do the best you can. If you're looking for leaderboard spots, just play the match. Sometimes you're going to have to sacrifice damage for influence plays until you feel like things stabilize. And then once things are stable, you can start trying to be a little greedy and start looking for damage, looking for damage, looking for damage. And if stuff starts to, it's looking kind of rough shit, I don't know, well, then you need to go back to doing the influence plays to somehow pull it back. But if you spend the entire time going for damage, it might work, it might not. There's not a formula for that, but in general, my personal belief is you either farm wins or you farm damage. You don't farm both.